Hello and welcome to Creating Cannon with your hosts AJ Hamilton and Necro-Cock Phantasm.
What? That sounds like a way better movie than what we watched. Necro-Cock Phantasm.
I think we should make that movie. Because
Necro-Cock Phantasm.
If you remember in our last episode based on this time of year,
I gave up. I don't remember that at all.
You've pushed that out of your memory?
Yes.
Well, let me remind you that you did say something to the effect of, if these guys can make a movie, we can make a movie, God damn it.
That sounds like something I would say.
And I think that Necro-Cock Phantasm should be our answer to the movie that we are watching this week called
Thankskilling.
And I think that we should label this, as we've already watched it before, the second Watchening.
I like that, actually.
Yeah?
The second Watchening is really good. Well, because I kept thinking, like, do we call it Thanksgiving 2 or Episode 2? But, like...
It's all too confusing.
Yeah, I was like, but that's really... Because then people will think it's a sequel to Thankskilling.
Exactly.
There is no Thankskilling 2, thank God.
Oh,
there is a Thankskilling 3.
Which maybe we'll get to one day.
Oh, no, that's what we're doing next week. I'll spoil you right now. That's on the docket for next week.
Oh, God.
Yeah, because remember, AJ, the reason we are watching Thankskilling is you suggested we watch this, and I got so mad at you that you made me watch this that to punish you, I have decided that we're going to watch it every single Thanksgiving.
It's all coming back now.
Although, you know what I didn't think out?
What's that? You have to as well?
That I have to watch it as well.
You dumb bastard.
So, about halfway through the movie, I thought to myself, I should have just not watched it.
Oh, and just faked it?
And then just, looked at my notes from last time and been like, oh yeah? Is that what happened, AJ? Refresh my memory.
I totally remember that part of it. Totally.
It felt like, I don't know if you had this experience, but it felt like a bad nightmare that then comes to, truth. Have you ever had, deja vu from, a nightmare kind of a thing? That's what it felt like, it felt just like, what's happening? But then you also are like, right, I kind of remember this. And you know what it actually felt like? I know, I take that back. It didn't take the deja vu nightmare analogy away.
I hated it anyway. Go ahead.
I did too. It felt like I had been assaulted.
Okay.
And I had pushed the memories of that assault out of my head to then be assaulted again and have flashbacks to my assault. I had PTSD from this movie.
Ah, yes. No,
post Thankskilling screening diarrhea. That's what this movie gave me.
I liken it to a very badly constructed dream. You know, it's like you say, I actually did like the dream analogy because it does feel very ethereal, very nebulous, you can't really grab onto anything. Everybody's all going in different directions, and there's poor. It doesn't look like the actual world. That's one of my biggest complaints about this is re-release this honestly and send it to a colorist. Send it to a colorist because it is
racist.
Horrible to look at.
Yes, it is horrible.
But you're right. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I actually wrote down. I would say what is this movie about? It's about a killer turkey named Turkey.
Yeah.
And it's about 67 minutes too long, and the movie is 67 minutes and 30 seconds long.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That gives you an idea. This is I did not listen to our old episode, but I do remember it being the angriest and shortest episode we've ever done.
It was about 24 minutes. It was amazing. It was shorter than some of our cannon blasts.
I feel like that might end up happening a little bit again. But what I actually wrote down was and this goes to the bad coloring in the movie. It needs to be revisited by a colorist, and I kept looking at it and even just the characters and my utter disdain for their existence.
Yes, yeah.
This is going to be quite a weird pull, but do you remember back in the early 2000s, there was a movie starring Shannon Elizabeth, Jerry O'Connell, and Jake Busey called Tomcats?
I saw that in Germany in German.
What?
Yeah, in the theaters. It was one of the few things that I watched over there, but it was out while I was there.
Amazing.
So that's super weird.
So I will say that this movie felt like a Tomcats cosplay, where it's like, it feels like an early I mean, it obviously is 2009, so it is like early-ish 2000. Well, it's late 2000s, but...
But I absolutely agree with you. I actually put down, it felt like a Dawson's Creek type of thing mixed with an American Pie attempt.
Yes.
Yeah,
right?
which were both like late 90s, early 2000s.
Yes, that's exactly. Well, straight down to, because what was really funny is I almost wrote down it feels like an American Pie cosplay.
Right.
But the thing about American Pie, and now I haven't seen American Pie in years.
Right.
But I actually do remember liking some of the characters in American Pie.
Yeah. Well, not all of them were despicable.
Yes.
Some of them were like, oh, there's variations on the tropes of those teen comedies. This one does not allow you to really get next to or sympathize with any single one of these people.
No.
You know what I want to see? You've seen like the Children's Hospital style Adult Swim type of very, very, very serious, like the actors are taking the comedy very, very seriously.
Uh-huh.
It feels like the evolution, the next stage of like the Naked Gun series or the Airplane movies, you know, where,
that's actually
where the more you take it seriously, the funnier it is.
That was what's so great about the Naked Gun series, and why Leslie Nielsen was so fucking fantastic is he plays Frank Drebin so straight down the line.
Yes.
And so realistic that it's hysterical with all the other stuff going around him.
Right.
Which is actually why, like, those, like, Disaster Movie or Meet the Spartans or, like, whatever those are.
They're so frustrating.
Or so bad. Yeah, it's because everyone's sort of like, I'm being funny.
Oh, look at that guy. Yeah. Well, that's what I want. I want to see those actors, like that group of people, like the UCB Second City type of improv actors, the ones that we have in all of like the supporting roles of all the different movies that have been out in the last 20 years or so. I want them to do a version of this because the acting in this is horrible, just dreadful. But I think if you had better actors who kind of understood what the director was going for in a bit more of a way, they could have elevated it, not made it good. It's poorly written. It's incredibly poorly written and shot.
Yes.
But I still think that the people who are on screen make or break it.
So I actually have a big question about this. Well, first of all, I will say that when you talk about having those actors play it super seriously, even though it's sort of like poorly written and it would have elevated it, that actually feels a little bit like... although this is probably unfair because it's actually a really funny movie on its writing scale, but for some reason it made me think of Wet Hot American Summer.
Yeah.
It just made me think of that. But what I will say, there was a moment in this, and this is actually what... I think I was so mad last time, or maybe even I asked this last time, and maybe I had the same epiphany. I'm not sure. But there was a moment where I thought, wait, because I think I tackled this movie each time starting it as people earnestly trying to make a good movie that then turned to be a shit show, almost like with Tommy Wiseau in The Room.
Right.
Is this supposed to be bad from the start? And the reason I ask that is characters make decisions in this movie that are indefensible. Yeah. And they say things that are so fucking insane. There's a line where the lead character, Johnny, says to Allie, the girl he's like interested in, the blonde girl.
Oh no, that's Kristen.
Oh, the Kristen. Okay, sorry. Where Johnny says to Kristen, I know both of our parents have died, but I'm so thankful for this experience because now I have a girlfriend. And in my head, I'm like, part of me was like, you're fucking orphans now. Yeah. Like, this is awful. And your parents just died, and this is like your make. And then it was like, oh, wait. is this supposed to be what it is? Because towards the end of the movie, there are little bits of things that make me realize, like, oh, maybe this was a joke that they were in on.
Because there are a lot of expositional style lines that feel like they are trying to wink at the audience, trying to break the fourth wall and say, oh, like the one point where they're like, Turkey, he's dead. You know, unless he fell into some radioactive waste.
Yes.
But shit like that only happens in movies. Wink.
Well, there's another moment, too. Well, like, the whole song with Billy and the Nerd is actually, like, I laughed.
Yeah.
And it's one of those moments. Or
it was one of the bright spots, actually.
Yeah.
Because there was actually some serious production gone into it.
That's true, too.
It felt like, you know.
Well, and I should throw out, too, like, I thought Billy's death was the best death in the movie.
Oh,
but
yeah.
That's something I'll get to a little bit later, I guess, maybe, or maybe not. Maybe I won't. Who cares? I don't fucking care anymore. There's a moment where Kristen goes, man, I wish we had rope, and Johnny pulls string out of his pocket, and he goes, I have this in the car, and I brought it just in case we might need it. But this is what I mean, where it's like, the last half of the movie telegraphs all of these things. I have a theory, and I'll tell you what it is in a sec. Like,
sure.
The last half of the movie, there seems to be a point where things go wild, and it's like, oh, this is supposed to be a bad movie, everybody. Don't you get it?
Yeah, yeah.
But what's weird is the first half of the movie doesn't have that tone.
No.
And I'm curious because this movie was originally written by Jordan Downey, who is the director, and Kevin Stewart, who is the cinematographer.
Yep.
And then there are additional credits for dialogue of a guy named Brad Schultz, a guy named Anthony Wilson, and a guy named Grant Yaffe. And I know you're surprised that only men wrote this movie based off of the content. But what I was going to say is, I'm wondering if they filmed like the first half of this movie trying to be a super serious, good movie, realized as they were cutting it that it was a fucking shit show.
Right.
And then we're like, can we save this? And then the rest of the movie is them trying to save it. Because for me, the movie really turns when the man in the car is almost fucked by a turkey, but then, like, the hitchhiker, when the turkey hitchhikes.
Yes. I gotta say that is one of those... I agree that it turns right there, but that is one of those scenes where it's almost like a Tim and Eric turn, where Tim and Eric... You know, the great
awesome
show,
Great Job, or whatever.
Yeah, that one. It feels like something where they would be going along and everything is absurd and everything's weird, and then it gets really, really, really serious, and then they have some really shitty effect, which is exactly how this goes.
Yes.
They were technically ahead of their time, but again, I think that they are not as skilled at doing parody. I don't think that they...
Who is they? Sorry.
I'm sorry. They, the creators of this movie.
Okay, so not Tim and Eric. You're talking about Jordan
Tim and Eric are actually... They have their own genre. They're not
Sure.
even doing parody, really. They're doing something else entirely.
It's absurdist is what they're doing.
Exactly.
Like,
Dadaist. Yeah, absolutely. But no, these guys, the creators of this movie, sort of... Well, let's give them a pass in the fact that this was made for $3,500 over, what was it, 11 days?
Yeah.
I think.
That's what they said. Shot in 11 days. I'm not sure if those are consecutive days. That's a really interesting question to ask.
Yeah.
But yeah, $3,500. I believe that they shot... Or they kept everything they shot. I don't know if there was anything that they didn't keep.
Well, neither of us have the DVD. I got it on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Well, I think the DVD doesn't exist. Like they don't have a DVD.
To.
Well, maybe it does. I'm the original ones. Maybe is what I should say.
Yeah. The original 1,000.
Yeah. I mean, this is a movie where a turkey is ostensibly a homicidal turkey, I should say.
Sure.
Is ostensibly our main character, and I think he's supposed to be sort of like Jason or Freddy, where you kind of root for him.
Yeah, because
right?
the people that he's killing are not all that great.
Yeah, well, and also too, like, at a certain point in the Freddy and Jason movies, you stop cheering for the humans and you start cheering for the deaths of the humans.
Yeah. The humans are essentially, pardon me, but cannon
fodder.
Yes.
But this is a movie in which, and I could be wrong, I have seen all the Friday the 13th, and I have seen all the Nightmare on Elm Streets.
Okay.
What works, and I know this is going to sound crazy, Jason and Freddy torture and fuck with their people, like they're killing, and they murder the people that they're killing.
Yes.
Obviously, because that's what killing is.
Mm-hmm.
There is a scene in the movie where the turkey that we are supposed to be sort of like cheering for, like the things that he's doing, because like that's the fun of watching these movies, and who is our lead character in Thankskilling 3, rapes a woman.
Yeah.
And like that's where like,
well, listen,
I just feel like
this was
what
absolutely a frat boy sense of humor. I mean, it's very homophobic, oddly homoerotic at times.
Yes,
like
which is also part of the, I think, in a weird way, that's part of the homophobia.
Oh yes,
it's homoeroticism that it like puts in there.
Yes, exactly.
Because it's not real. It's sort of like, look at what we did. These two guys seem to maybe fuck each other. Yeah.
There was also a weird line where the nerd Darren says something to the effect of, "I'm gonna go crazy this weekend. I'm gonna definitely have sex with somebody in this Jeep."
I wrote that down.
What?
There are 2 women in the Jeep and 2 men, and like other than him.
Yes.
And when he wrote, "I'm gonna have sex with someone in this car," I was like,
nobody's showed any interest in you. If like there's that's again the weirdest part of this, the writing.
Yes. Well, and also too, I'm so sorry. I just want to point out that the 4 people in the car are Allie, who is sort of set up to be the, for lack of a better term,
the promiscuous one.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for saving me from my struggle.
Oh, sure.
I was in the terminology of the movie, which
of course
I was trying to fight against that.
Well, they refer to her as a hoe and a
slut
and a loose girl. You know, whatever.
Well, I mean, her legs are harder to shut than the John Benet Ramsey case.
That is by far the worst line I have ever heard.
Look, I'm gonna be honest. The first time I heard that line, there was part of me that was like, "That's way." Like, it's
way more clever than this
movie deserves.
Yes.
When the same character made the same joke a second time at the 27-minute mark, I was like, well, that's not the way that's supposed to work. And then when the same joke was recycled a third time at the 32-minute mark, I was like, right. This is what we're watching.
It's almost like the bastardization of the rule of 3.
Right.
Like it's like they kind of had heard that once in a conversation, and they were like, "Oh, if you do things 3 times, it's funnier."
But it's you build upon the joke. You don't do the same joke word for word. So we have Allie, we have Kristen, who's sort of like ostensibly our good girl in the car.
She's the final girl archetype.
The final girl. We have Johnny, who is like the hot football player.
Feel these muscles.
Yeah, and then we have Billy, who is our fat comic relief.
He feels like he's right out of Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh, yeah, I see. Well, I was going to say he feels like he's right out of Varsity Blues.
Or that, yes. But dressed by the people in Tucker and Dale.
Dale, yes. So those are the 4 people in the car with Darren when Darren goes. And it's also important to note that Darren has not met anybody in that car except for Billy.
Yep.
There's no conversation about Darren coming with. Darren just gets in the car and he's like, "I'm gonna fuck someone in this car at the end of the weekend."
Well, unless let's say he does not say it as aggressively as that.
No,
he's
but
aggressive,
that's what
but he is a fucking nerd. Yeah,
that's kind of what he says, and that's so weird. This is also after where he says, "I hate this movie so much."
I do too.
He says, "What is everyone thankful for?" And Billy's immediate response is, "I'm thankful your mom has the juiciest poon in town." To then which Johnny goes, "Ha ha! Nice! Burn!" And then they, like, high five.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a moment where I was like, what is happening? This is not...
This, I mean, guaranteed this script was written while high. Or drunk. Or both.
I'm so sorry. I have a huge issue with this script was written.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
A couple of things that we should also note about Johnny, like, immediately. Well, first of all, these people... Oh, my God. I fucking hate this movie. It opens with them... Actually, let's just stick with them for a minute. The girls are shown to be friends, like, talking to each other, and, like, like, really, in a faraway shot, right? As they're walking, they're, like, in conversation, and they seem to be good friends.
Yeah.
And then the first second we hear dialogue, they are immediately at odds with each other, like, with such hatred, which I thought was fucking fascinating. Also, to give you a timeline of this movie, Johnny has one of those awful tribal tattoos that were really big at one point in time that now are ridiculous. And upon the introduction of Billy, who is, again, ostensibly our, like, fat comic relief, walks out of a building and rips his white tank top in half.
Yeah.
And goes, Thanksgiving break! Yeah! Which, is that a thing?
Here's why I think this may deserve more credit than it gets, is that it's kind of like spring break! And, like, ironic because it's stupid.
Well, that's the thing that... And there's actually a moment later on where Allie, who is ostensibly our... Allie is so... Like, our promiscuous girl is also so stupid that she's the kind of stupid that is only written. Like, this kind of stupid doesn't exist in real life.
She even doesn't know things that she once knew earlier in the show.
Yes.
Like, she's too dumb to breathe, essentially. Like, she's written that way, sadly.
Yeah. I mean, there's a moment where the engine of their Jeep breaks down and it's smoking, and she says maybe it's a flat tire. There's another moment where she's like, I just can't wait to sit in the sun and party and be in a bikini and go to the beach. I love spring break. And someone's like, it's Thanksgiving break, you idiot. And she's like, oh yeah, Johnny.
And did you, by the way, this has always bugged me, did you get the sense that she and Johnny were already dating?
Yes, at the top of the movie.
At the top of the movie, and then gradually he's like, I don't really like you anymore. This other girl that you're clearly friends with, and that seems to be part of the friend group.
Yeah, well,
it's like I'm into her.
This was so confusing too, because I want to talk about the friend group for a second, because it seems like it's set up that they're all going to go to, like, a cabin and party together.
Yeah.
But what it really is they all live in the same small town. Mm-hmm. Like, they go to this one college, and they all seem to live in the same small town, only blocks from each other. Right? Yet, none of them knew each other before college, it seems. And is it really a friend group? Because it doesn't seem like an actual friend group. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
it just feels like people on a bus.
Yes, and that's so weird. It's just so weird. I don't even...
I also, there's a great part where Johnny apparently drives everyone home.
Yes.
But at one point, they are going back to Kristen's house, and she's like, it's right up here, and Johnny's like, I know, I dropped you off here yesterday. It's like...
Jeez.
That wasn't on screen... And I guess that's some sort of... It felt like it wasn't needed. Like, neither of the pieces of dialogue were needed.
Yes. Well, and that was actually when I wrote down the note of, like, wait a second. I just now realized that all of these kids live in the same town, which they probably went to the same high school.
Yeah.
And now they go to the same college, yet they have no clue, because they do seem like they're blocks away from each other.
Yeah, they do.
It's not like Johnny drops one person off and then drives 45 minutes or an hour to drop the next person off.
Well, we actually only see one person get dropped off, and then why are we doing this? I just realized, like...
You know what? I'm just going to say, like, 4 more things that I enjoyed.
Oh,
the line of, Jesus, we're in the woods. This shit happens all the time. Out of context, I thought that was its thing. I really still want to know, in the opening scene,
Yeah.
Where, again, one of the... this is from the last time. I say again like you remember, because I barely remember. But one of the taglines is boobs in the first second. And this does have boobs in the first second.
Immediate.
And I still don't know why her boobs are out. I also don't understand. Like, I mean, I know why her boobs are out as far as, like, trying to sell the movie. We have boobs in the first second. Like, I get that part. But, like, it's a fucking pilgrim in 1621. Why are her boobs out? And why does she have a store-bought pilgrim costume?
That's a good question,
why does Turkey have a modern axe in 1621?
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know, but
okay,
I will...
No, go ahead.
But I will say...
This was your choice, AJ. This is your goddamn movie.
This was never my choice.
This was your choice!
This was my choice. I'm so sorry,
It was your choice
everyone.
last year, and
I'm
now
so
I'm
sorry,
punishing
everyone.
you.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry,
so
I didn't mean to yell.
You know what? You did, and I deserved it.
Yeah.
From what I remember, from our last episode, we did talk about the fact that the opening was supposed to be longer. The opening was supposed to be a dinner that the Native Americans were at and everything like that. And I think it actually, not to say that this movie would have been any better by really anything changing about it, like just minutely, because it would have to have a full overhaul. But what I'm saying is, if this opening had been like more establishing, more of like, oh, here's the pilgrims, and they are eating the dinner. The start of the dinner, and then they say, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to rip up your treaty. And then the turkey that was on the table was brought to life by the shaman that they talk about later on in the animated part of this movie. There's a full animated part of this movie that is weird. But that would have been...
that was one of the highlights as far as just how the movie works. Like, maybe not how the movie works. It was just a highlight of like, well, I didn't have to look at the awful color correction. Maybe I'll put it that way.
Sure.
It gave my eyes a break.
But then imagine this. What if Wanda Lust, who is the woman who opens the movie...
Wanda Lust from Thankskilling, Thankskilling 3, Cock-Smoking Grannies, Mature Kink Orgy number 7, Bustin' Nut 5 and 6, and MILF Does a Brother Good.
Oh,
I just didn't want you to get that confused with a different Wanda Lust.
No, of course. No, I appreciate that. What a robust...
Bosom?
Bosom, yes, that's what
a resume.
Resume, I was going to say resume, but bosom as well. But imagine that she was one of the pilgrims and ran out and, like, her top got caught on something and ripped off.
Why are you trying to fix this movie?
I fixed it right there.
You fixed the whole thing, but why are you trying to? The last two things that I want to say before we put this out of mind until next year was I actually, this time watching the opening credits, I was like, these credits, like the opening credits aren't bad.
Right. You know what they felt like? They felt like they were from one of the early 2000
Final Destination
movie.
Oh, I was gonna say Final Destination movie, but yes,
similar to that. But yes,
yes, I agree.
Zooming
with
around, it was like, wow, this is not bad.
Yeah,
not bad.
And then, is there anything else you want to add before I add the last two things that I wanted to like? There's I will say this: there's one actor and one scene in this movie that both times I've now watched it, I find it hysterical, and when we watch this again next year, it is the one thing that I look forward to.
I think I know what you're going to talk about, and I am going to... Yes, I do want to bring a couple of things up before we go on to your last two. This movie opens with the words, "The year is 1621, the olden days." And it talks about it being the first Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. And to their credit, it was. That is the year that the first Thanksgiving occurred. And another interesting thing, the first Pilgrim Native American treaty was signed that year as well on April 1st.
Fools.
Just kidding. We're going to take it all.
Here's a smallpox blanket. Go die.
Jesus. But I also want to talk, and this may be getting too much in the weeds of a really dumb movie. 2007, right? 2007 is when this movie was made and supposedly set, right? 2007, 2008, whatever.
Okay. It was released in 2009.
Correct.
Okay.
But I just want to say the internal logic of all of this, with the fact that we talked about this last time, the fact that every 505 years this turkey would come back as if it was a recurring curse. Well, first of all, if it was back then, it would have only happened once. That would have been the first time it happened.
Oh yeah,
right?
It's like did you ever see Brigadoon?
Yes. Yeah.
There's a thing about Brigadoon, like the town comes back every I think it's every 200 years, but when you do the math,
yep,
it's like, wait, this is like for the people in the town who disappear and come back. This is the first time they disappeared and come back when Brigadoon takes place. And It's not like it's been... They don't feel the 200 years. It's like they went to bed one night and woke up the next morning.
Absolutely.
But everyone in the town's like, oh my god, this curse is so
this
terrible.
Again.
Oh, this is... And you're like, wait, this is the first time you've experienced this. Shut up.
But I just want to say, first of all, in the movie, the bird says, Turkey says...
Yeah, he's got a name.
I'm a lot... Turkie. Yeah. He says... I'm 510 years old, which means he was 5 years old when he was killed and then brought back to life by the necromancer, or whatever it was. But let's say 2007 minus 505 years.
Oh, no, I see where you're going here.
It's 1502. It's not anywhere near 1621.
This movie should take place in 2126.
Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't even...
Come on!
I didn't even catch that.
Come on, man.
That's also a great moment, too, where the nerd character, Darren, is like, is that now? And he was like, no, it's not now. It's 45 minutes from now.
At midnight. Fuck
it's
you,
like,
nerd.
Oh, come on. It's in bright light when he says that, too, by the way.
Of course. And also, I just love the book that they find later on that's going to help them solve the... First of all, the prop is... absolutely amazing. It's printer paper and cardboard. With like one piece of paper within it.
Did we talk about this last? I feel like we talked about this last time. I'm pretty sure we did. And then the inside of the book is like halfway through it, the thing turns to algebra, and he's like, "Oh shoot, these ancient Turkeologists put in algebra and these equations."
What? Yeah.
Ugh, God damn it. Well, the Turkeologists weren't ancient. It's modern-day Turkeologists.
But still.
Put in an algebra equation for modern-day people for ancient Turkey. Look, this movie, I do just want to take a moment to... there's the Sheriff Round character, played by Chuck Lamb.
Fuck yes.
He is hysterical. Mm-hmm. In a way that, like, I can't even describe, because I don't know if he is giving it his all and he's just the worst community theater actor I've ever seen, or if he's a special kind of brilliant. Either way, I'm not sure, but it's happening. But there's the scene where we first get introduced to him, where
with his second wife,
his second wife, and he drinks coffee and he goes, "Damn it, Cheryl, this coffee tastes like shit." And she's like, "Well, that's because I shit in it. I want a divorce." And then we never see her again.
She just walks out.
Yeah, and you're like, wait, what was the whole point of that scene other than you thought it was funny that someone shit in coffee and then drank it?
Yes. And it also...
And they're right. And they're right. You know, I gotta give them credit. They were right.
And the funniest part is after that... Before we've even been established, who the fuck are these people?
Oh, yeah, that's right. He gets a call
after
from his
that,
daughter.
he gets a call from his daughter, who is Kristen, in the car.
Here's your stepmama's leaving me.
Also, I gotta say about Chuck Lamb, he clearly is a horror movie staple. He's been
I would not call him a horror movie staple.
Come on, horror-ween.
He's more like a horror movie paperclip.
That's fair. Yeah. No,
I also really love the scene last year where the sheriff is going to a party dressed like a gigantic turkey, and the turkey comes to visit the sheriff dressed as a human.
Well, and basically just has one of the nose and glasses things.
The Groucho things, yeah.
Yeah.
But I still think my interpretation of that scene is Turkey sees the sheriff dressed as a turkey and is like, oh, that's a giant turkey. I'm not going to kill him. And the sheriff looks at the turkey dressed as a human and is like, oh, it's just a human who wants to enter my house. And it's so clearly obvious that it's a human in a turkey costume and a turkey in a human costume. But they've both tricked each other, and I don't know why, but that scene, like...
It's the best part of... That should have been a short, and they should have been done with it.
It would have been great.
Yeah.
It would have been
Spend
great.
the $3,500 on a 10-minute scene between those two, and I would have absolutely... Yes.
But that's it. Other than that, fuck this movie.
Yeah, there's some classic lines, but I don't even care. You know the Dead Best Friend song? If anybody doesn't have Amazon Prime...
Yeah, this was on Amazon. It's also on Vudu for free, I believe.
Oh, very nice. But with Amazon Prime, you can watch it with the X-ray thing on, sort of the... It's very nice when you hover your mouse over the screen, or if you pause the movie, you see what music is being played, who is on screen at the time. So it's kind of cool, kind of a neat little feature. And the Dead Best Friend song is called Bad 80s Ballad.
Amazing, because I actually was looking in the credits to see who wrote the Dead Best Friend song and didn't come up. Mm-hmm. Bad 80s Ballad makes sense.
Bad 80s Ballad.
It's bad.
And apparently the... Which gives another bit of credence to the fact that they knew that they were doing something that was real dumb.
I still maintain the fact that they figured it out halfway and then were like, fuck.
I don't disagree.
Let's fix it.
Also, I just want to talk about the Hermit in the Oscar. The Hermit is a guy named General Bastard, and he's a musician. Great. So that's kind of fun. He usually does it masked, like a person, like a Slipknot or a luchador.
AJ, if you keep talking about this movie, I'm going to murder you.
I think this is it. I think I'm done. But
it
is to be continued in space.
Yeah, well, I have a big surprise for you.
I don't want to know.
You know what we're going to do next week?
What?
You dumb fucking prick, are going to have to watch Thankskilling 3. Which is the direct sequel to Thankskilling. They skipped their own... Thankskilling 3 is known as the movie who skipped its own sequel.
Do I smell a sequel, biatch? Is the last line of this movie.
It is. And then it says...
And they did.
And then, well, isn't it also say, to be continued in space?
That's correct, yes.
And then the idiots of this movie, who are far smarter than us, made something like several $100,000. We'll go into this. Several $100,000 on Kickstarter to make part 3. Which again, there is no part 2.
Well, also, just before we wrap this one up, it took. I think we talked about it last year, but it took them a year to sell 1,000 of the DVDs for this movie. Thankskilling 1.
I wonder why.
But I mean, they made some money.
They did.
They sold it. Good for them.
Well, I mean, it sounds like, oh my god, that's a really long time. It took a year to sell 1,000 copies. But when you really think about it, that's like 3 copies a day.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I mean, I know the math on that is not perfect, but
no, I know.
If someone were buying 3 copies of my movie every single day that I made for $3,500,
That is a success.
This is great. This is awesome.
We should have charged more. Yeah. Apparently, they wanted it. Yeah.
I mean, even if each DVD was only $10, that's $10,000 in its first year.
Exactly.
Which, practically triples its, God damn it. AJ,
let's make a movie.
We're gonna watch this again next year.
Why does this never? We need to allow the hatred to grow and to fuel our own creative juices.
It really does. Your mama's boon, right? Boom. Yeah. Burn.
Eat your pocket French fries.
Okay.
All right, fantastic, man.
Movie. Well, you know what we're doing next time.
Cannot wait. Yay. Next time. Hey Nick, oh fuck, where are we following you?
You can follow me at Nicholas C. Pappas on Twitter, and you can check out my website, nicholascpappas.com, a website that will be forever under construction.
Yay!
Yay!
You can follow me at the AJ Hamilton, or go to theajhamilton.com. And guess what, everybody? You can follow us at Creating Cannon on Twitter and Instagram. You can email us, creatingcannon, that's CANNON, at gmail.com. And you can go to our website, creatingcannon.com, to find all of our links and such, and episodes and things. So, yes, visit that.
You know what I just realized?
What up?
You never said my name at the beginning.
Doesn't matter.
Just do it now.
And Nicholas C. Pappas.
Yay!
Yay! And Nick, as we always say, good night and good cannon.
Happy Thanksgiving, gobble gobble, motherfuckers.
That's why we do this. That's why we're here, Nicholas. So stupid. All right. Okay,
Perfect on my side. Why are we here? To clap for each other?
To clap for each other and to quote Joe Cocker. I'm feeling all right.
You're feeling all right.
All right.
Chill out, Curly. What would you do if I sang...
Out of tune?
Yeah.
I would leave you immediately. I'm Bart. Holy kabunga.
What would you do if I sang Attitude? Would you eat turkey a la king?
How did you know what turkey a la king was?
What would you do if we watched Thankskilling 2?
I would have to quit this podcast.
But when we see Thanksgiving 3...
I'd still quit this.
I started off strong thinking I'm going to do this, and then I just gave up.
No, it's worthless. I mean, it's not good. In fact, it's very bad.
It's very bad.